You're welcome to Nationwide, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Lami Ali. President Muhammadu Buhari is urging Nigerian citizens to give him 7 days to resolve the cash crunch that has become a problem across the country following the currency redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The president stated this during a crucial meeting with members of the Progressives Governors Forum on the situation. State House correspondent Adam Sambo brings us the details.
Members of the Progressives Governors Forum were in the presidential villa to seek solutions to the cash crunch, which they say is threatening the good records of the administration in transforming the economy. President Muhammadu Buhari told the governors that the currency redesign policy will give a boost to the economy and provide long-term benefits to Nigeria and Nigerians. He, however, expressed doubts about the commitment of the deposit money banks, in particular, to the success of the policy. As he put it during the closed-door engagement, some banks are inefficient and only concerned about themselves, adding that even if a year is added, problems associated with selfishness and greed won't go away. President Buhari said he had seen television reports about cash shortages and hardship to local businesses and ordinary people. He vowed to ensure that the balance of 7 of the 10-day extension is used to crack down on whatever stood in the way of the successful implementation of the policy, while promising to revert to the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting PLC. The president made it clear that there will be a decision one way or the other before the 10-day extension deadline expires. The governors had told the president that while they are fully in support of his decision on the renewal of currency, its execution had been botched and their constituents are becoming increasingly upset. They explained that as leaders of the government and party in their different states, they are also becoming anxious about a slump in the economy as well as the series of elections that are coming, and therefore requested the president to use his powers to direct the concurrent flourish of the new and old naira notes till the end of the year. The president said in giving the approval to the policy, he demanded an undertaking from the Central Bank of Nigeria that no new notes will be printed in a foreign country, and in turn got assurances that they have enough capacity, manpower, and equipment to print the currency for local needs. He said he needs to go back and find out what is actually happening. President Buhari, however, told the governors that he has heard their cries and will act in a way that there will be a solution. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And away from the cashless policy, in continuation of the APC presidential campaign for the February 25th elections, President Muhammadu Buhari will lead the campaign team to Nasarawa State on Saturday, 4th February, to woo the electorate. Aliu Tejani reports that preparations have heightened ahead of the presidential visit to Lafia in Nasarawa.
It's like a homecoming for President Muhammadu Buhari to Nasarawa, a state often referred to as his political laboratory. With 3 weeks to the general elections, APC in Nasarawa State says it is mobilizing support to retain power, and the visit of President Muhammadu Buhari to the state is a booster to its campaign. While in the state, the Nigerian leader will inaugurate Federal Secretariat and the Agricultural Machinery Equipment Development Institute built by NASENI to promote locally made machines and tools for agricultural production. Also to be inaugurated as state government projects.
We are 90% ready. As you know, the president is coming one for official visit where he is going to commission some projects, and from all indications, everything is set. We are ready to go.
The conversation amongst the people in the state indicates their readiness to give the president and the campaign council rousing welcome. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
Now, governments must actively redefine the role of their customs services to be properly integrated into the security architecture due to the growing number of fragile borders and the convergence of fiscal and security issues at such borders. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo expressed these views as the just concluded three-day global conference by the World Customs Organizations with the theme Enabling Customs in a Fragile and Conflict-Affected Situations.
For the World Customs Organization, 2023 is dedicated to nurturing the next generation, promoting a culture of knowledge sharing and professional pride in custom. From various reports, fragile borders not only aggravate conflict, they rob the state of crucial income that could address some of the social issues that contribute to conflict.
So the mix of social, economic, political, governance, security, and climate factors had already created a perfect storm in many of these states that are described as conflict affected or those that have fragile borders, even ahead of the COVID-19 pandemic, which simply added a more devastating dimension to tip things over.
Explaining further some of these issues countries are facing, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo declares that the days of the customs service dedicated only to fiscal matters at the borders are long gone.
It is now imperative that national governments, where there are fragile borders or in post-conflict situations, must invest intentionally in infrastructure and capacity building for their customs service personnel. Fragile and conflict-affected states, especially in developing countries, must be assisted in acquiring relevant technology, such as drones, sensors, and other remote technologies to better track goods and enforce security, especially in the fragile borders.
This conference has the objective of raising awareness, visibility of customs, how it can contribute to security, especially for security and facilitation of trade supply chain, which is the lifeline of many countries.
The Vice President is optimistic that the World Customs Organization will not only talk, but walk the talk to help fragile and conflict-affected countries on the journey to prosperity, peace, and stability. The Nigerian government also expresses full commitment to ensure that any plan or recommendations from this conference will be implemented. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now, motorists in Abuja are heaving a sigh of relief as fuel queues seem to be abating. Minister of State Petroleum Resources Timipre Silva, who visited some petrol stations, appealed to motorists for understanding, assuring Nigerians that President Muhammadu Buhari has mandated all key players to ensure issues around supply chains are resolved permanently. Lydia Sampson reports.
Agbaja Shagun is a motorist in Abuja. In addition to his regular 9-to-5 job, he uses his car for productive means to earn extra cash. He lamented that the long wait in petrol queues has been counterproductive for him.
No fuel. Sometimes maybe within 2 hours, I will have make like some amount of money, or because I will use that hour to queue for fuel. Before you know it, for the whole day, I may not even be able to make anything.
Now, Shagun and other motorists who hitherto spent endless hours at petrol stations say the situation is improving and they hope it will be sustainable.
The situation is not that bad. I just get here like 30 minutes ago. It's still fair enough.
If they want to, they are saying they want to remove subsidy. If they want to remove it then and put our refinery fine, it's okay by us.
But gradually it's reducing. By special grace of God, it's reducing. But we all, just as a minister is here now, we want government to intensify more effort.
Most motorists here in this petrol station, like all others in Abuja today, the situation is easing up. But can the same story be said about those outside the city center and even across Nigeria? Minister of State Petroleum Resources, during his visit to petrol stations in Abuja, learned from station managers that the situation is improving and they have enough products.
Mr. President himself is really pained. I mean, he's not happy that Nigerians were put through this pain. He will also agree with me that Mr. President alone has stood against deregulation, I must tell you, because he believes that it's going to really occasion a lot of suffering on the part of Nigerians. So Mr. President is always on the side of the people, and that's why he is very pained, and that's why he directed that we must ensure that this problem is resolved as quickly as possible.
Kimipre Silva says key players in the industry have resolved to sustainably tackle issues around complexities of supply chains, and hopefully the queues will be permanently eliminated across the country. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
The head, National Central Bureau of Interpol in Nigeria, AIG Garbabab Umar, has appeared before the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating alleged sale of 48 million barrels of Nigeria's Bonny crude, where he made submissions on alleged plots to intimidate whistleblowers on the matter. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola reports.
This committee of the House was inaugurated on 29th of December last year, with the mandate to investigate the alleged illegal sale of 48 million barrels of Nigeria's crude to China in 2015. Mark Biller, the chairman, wants the head of National Central Bureau of Interpol in Nigeria to clarify allegations of intimidation against the whistleblowers.
When those individuals, those whistleblowers, approached the committee, we found out that a week or more afterwards, your department, the NCB of the Interpol, wrote to two of those individuals, which we do not consider to be a coincidence. Why is it that it is when they approach this committee to give them evidence about what happened that the Interpol suddenly started inviting them?
Have the avenue.
AIG Garba, speaking under oath, maintained that Interpol is not investigating the whistleblowers, but National Central Bureau is only assisting in identifying them, since there was a request from the Ministry of Justice with requisite document.
Mr. Chairman, I will not, and I repeat, I will never allow anybody to use me by any means. It's a request, Chairman. Probably those who may be able to answer are those who investigated the matter and the Office of the Attorney General, who wrote to me requesting for assistance. They wrote an attached document, and those are the ones that can answer all these questions they are asking, Mr. Chairman.
The committee, however, insists that the concerned persons are not on the run and requested for certified true copy of the letter to NCB from the Federal Director of Public Prosecution. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
Federal government is optimizing opportunities in the renewable energy subsector to connect unserved and undeserved communities with solar home systems to achieve the 2030 targets for energy mix in the country. Joshua Ojitu reports that key players and donor partners met in Abuja to review performance and strengthen the institutional framework for effective project implementation.
3 years of project delivery to provide electricity to communities by the Rural Electrification Agency. Time for another review and to set target for 2023. Key players, management of the agency and development partners meet to strengthen pillars of service delivery.
The RA is an agency in a hurry to make a positive impact on its mandate, which is targeted at the rural population and the most vulnerable Nigerians.
Conversation revolves around monitoring and evaluation, sustainability of projects, as well as coordination with state governments to sustain trajectory in project implementation.
We're in the northwest, north central, and northeast, all over the country. The impact is enormous. I'm assuring Nigerians that REA is a robust organization and it will continue to provide and care for power for the rural communities as it is doing now.
Where we'll be very deliberate in identifying exactly where we have unelectrified Nigerians, and with that the ministry is able to plan to see within our agency, the TCN, the distribution companies, who is catering for which one of the unserved Nigerians.
With off-grid and mini-grid projects delivered across many rural communities nationwide, federal government promises more communities will be connected this year with solar home systems. Joshua Ojitu, NTA News.
Now, the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, will be the next guest on NTA's latest political talk show, National Conversation, showing later tonight at 10:05 p.m. Speaking with two of NTA's finest, Sowore outlines key national targets with specific timelines to achieving some of his objectives if elected as president by Nigerian voters this February.
I really met the electorate in 2019 because I traveled to 34 states in the country, including in the FCT. And what surprised me the most was that the parts of Nigeria that people were saying, no, they are not ready for democracy or education, they are backward. They were the ones, particularly not, when I said, what do you want? They said the word makaranta. This is the first thing they asked me. I had to ask my interpreter, what's the meaning of makaranta? Of course, I knew about it because I served in Adamawa State, and they said it's school, education. I didn't find anybody in the north, or those poor women that I met, at banks of those little rivers or in those huts, who ever said, give me money.
National Conversation is hosted by the duo of Cyril Stober and Kingsley Osadolo and opens a vista for presidential candidates in this year's election to speak on their plans for the country and the Nigerian people. Now, the FCT Emergency Management Agency and the Development Control Department says no fewer than 21 persons have so far been rescued in the ongoing efforts to evacuate those trapped in the collapsed three-story building in Gwarimpa, Abuja. Rosemary Bilal in this update reports on rescue efforts so far.
3 site workers were confirmed badly injured, while many were said to be being trapped under the rubble of the 3-story commercial complex. Investigations on day 2 at this building collapse site reveals.
While you are a DJ, you are doing it professionally, because in a situation you are trying to save lives, you may end up losing lives. The machine itself can injure somebody.
We were able to save 21 lives alive, and 3 were fatally injured, and we could see that the operation is still going on. We will not rest on our oars until when we get to ground zero to make sure that nobody is left on the rubble.
According to an eyewitness and workers at the site, laborers conveying blocks to the top were many.
I did for now job name a job corner. I said the thing cost that they fall like this, they fall for ground and some more jump. See, all of us before where they jump, 3 people die at a spot.
Yesterday I was here and I was sitting here. So when I saw the thing, because the house is from down, when the thing fell down, I was the first person that even shot.
In the meantime, traffic has been building up since the access road has been cordoned off. The building under construction, which went down Thursday morning, has been eliciting reactions from government officials and relevant authorities with a view to averting future occurrence. Rosemary Motel and Bilal, NTA News.
It's time to join Deola in Lagos for more updates. Hello, Deola.
Hello, Lami. Repair work on Eko Bridge has reached 50%. The Federal Controller of Works Lagos, Umar Bakari, said this ahead of the reopening of the bridge. Hengino John Adams will tell us more.
After the fire incident that affected Eko Bridge last year, the federal government mobilized engineers on site with a target of reopening the bridge by December 2022. While motorists along the axis waited patiently for the bridge to reopen so that they can breathe a sigh of relief from the heavy traffic they experience, they were greeted by an extension. Few weeks into the December deadline, the government announced May 2023 as the new deadline as a result of an emergency repair of Ijora-Olokpa section of Eko Bridge, which was also gutted by fire. For now, the piers have been repaired and the bearings are being worked upon.
Hopefully by May, we intend to open it to the public. You will recall also that the whole of Eko Bridge is undergoing comprehensive rehabilitation from beginning to the end. This project is supposed to last for 43 months. We're working double fast in order to be able to fix the areas that were gutted by fire.
The closure of the bridge is affecting the livelihood of motorists, from loss of man-hours to difficulty in accessing some areas. They are therefore hopeful that there will not be another extension.
From here now to Relay now, at times 400, at times 500. Normally 200 now, transport.
The buses are supposed to pass through the CMS to Relay. There is no way. They need to go through the Third Mainland Bridge.
They can be able to do this for us on time so that the working class, the businessmen, everybody can be able to walk freely.
The motorists also appealed to Nigerians to always protect public infrastructure for their own good. In Lagos, Hinginu, John Adams, NTA News.
Transparency and accountability in governance can go a long way in building public trust and confidence in leadership and institutions. These points were highlighted and examined by experts in healthcare, including young Nigerians who are using literary works to draw attention to how these factors can affect the Nigeria of their dreams. Jennifer Igwe reports.
With climate change presenting diverse health challenges that aggravates havoc it wreaks, coupled with other problems bedeviling the health sector in Nigeria, experts say there is need for more accountability and transparency in the nation's health system.
And humans contracting certain conditions and moving on, it's all, I think, complex and interrelated. And the issue of transparency there is we need to be honest and know what exactly is going on. If we're talking, for example, about air pollution, what are the real figures?
22-year-old Adiza Abdukarim, a university undergraduate, and other young Nigerians like her are of the view that upholding transparency and accountability can help ensure the Nigeria of their dreams. They are using poetry, short stories, and fiction to capture their vision.
You know, when accident victims or gunshot victims go to the hospital, they don't get treated instantly. They ask for police reports. But then in my Nigeria, in my piece, they are treated because every life matters, and it's not about getting a police report. It's about treating a person for the person to be well first before you even find out how he or she got the injury.
These are creating a future of a brighter Nigeria. I said he that dreams, is the one that will bring that dream to pass. So we are allowing the youth to dream wide about the future of the health system, and we know that it can be that.
Amplifying the thoughts of these young Nigerians are these panelists with vast experience in healthcare, clinical governance, and advocacy.
The accountability aspect is actually knowing that we are answerable to the people and that we are blamable and we should take liability when we don't do things right, and that we have to be we have to keep our integrity.
Because for the citizenry to hold the system accountable, the citizenry themselves need to be accountable. They need to have played their parts in either paying their taxes or getting health insurance, because when you pay for something, you can then make noise that the quality of this thing is good or not good.
These experts are also of the view that leaders, healthcare providers, patients, and other decision makers have a role to play in accountability and transparency needed for the nation's health system to function effectively. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. Nationwide will continue after this time out with Nana Aisha in Sokoto. To stay with us.
Good evening, everyone, and it's still nationwide. Thank you for joining us here in Sokoto. Vice President Yemi Osibajo has stressed the need for schools in Nigeria to teach pupils the highest standards of honesty, piety, and hard work in the interest of a prosperous nation. He made the call while inaugurating the school-based management board of Adawiya Girls Academy, Sokoto. Dalhatu Abdullahi reports.
The construction of Adawiya Girls Academy Sokoto was facilitated by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo through the Sustainable Development Goals Office, Abuja. He did it as part of efforts to make the vision of late Rabiatu Adawiya of converting her house into a school for the benefit of the society a reality. Late Hajia Rabiatu Adawiya of Mnanata area of Sokoto Metropolis is the mother of the senior special assistant to the president on legal research and the compliance matters, office of the vice president, Dr. Balkisu Saidu. Before her demise 2 years ago, Hajia Rabiatu Adawiya had endowed her house to be converted to a school to support education of children from poor families. With the school built and girls enrolled, the Vice President Emio Shumbanjo has now inaugurated the school-based management board of the school during a virtual meeting. He described the vision of late Rabiatu Adawiya to build the school for orphans and other children from low-income families in Minanata area of Sokoto Metropolis as a great project worthy of emulation. He said education is the catalyst for both human and national development.
We want to make sure that these young girls become the best examples of good behavior in the community.
The school-based management board has Vice Chancellor Osman Danfodio University, Sokoto, Professor Lawal Suleiman Bilbis as chairman, Dr. Balkisu Saidi as vice chairman, Muhammad Lawal Maidoki will represent the state government, and Ardan Minanata Aminu Garabal Square will represent the traditional rulers. All the pupils enrolled in the academy are either orphans or children from poor families, and they will be given conventional and Islamic education free. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has called on the country's electoral umpire and other stakeholders to redouble efforts towards sensitizing electorates to eschew violence during and after the conduct of the 2023 general elections. Dalhatu Abdullahi reports that the Sultan made the call while hosting the South-South Monarchs Forum at his palace.
Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar described the 2023 general elections as the most critical period for Nigeria, urging stakeholders to educate Nigerians on the rules and regulations of the elections. Muhammad Saad commended the South-South monarchs for going around the country advocating for peaceful, free, and fair elections, saying every Nigerian should be an advocate for peace. He assured the monarchs of his support at all times. Chairman South-South Monarchs Forum, Dr. Edmund Daokoru Aman Yanabo of Nembe Kingdom, said their mission is to seek for the Sultan's support so as to succeed in their crusade of educating people to vote wisely and peacefully. The Sultan also received the governor of Taraba State, Darius Ishaku, who was at the palace for homage. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Well, that's our contribution here in Sokoto. Nationwide will continue with Lami in Abuja. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nana Aisha. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is in Kebbi State with a pledge to boost Nigeria's economy if elected in the forthcoming 2023 general election. Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa reports that the Labour Party campaign train was received by party supporters from the 21 local government areas of Kebbi State.
Party leaders and supporters of the Labour Party gathered in their numbers defying the weather and other conveniences to show their support for the presidential candidate of the party and his vice in Kebbi State. The venue was Rescos, where the presidential candidate Peter Obi, addressing his supporters in Birnin Kebbi, promised to tackle insecurity, banditry, unemployment, and to uplift the standard of living of Nigerians if given the mandate come 2023 general election.
We want to remove this country from consumption to production. Yes, sir. This country can feed itself. It is a great country. And all it takes, we want people to stop stealing public money.
The vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba Ahmad, assured Nigerians dividends of democracy when voted into power. The campaign train of the presidential candidate also visited the Emir of Gondus Palace to receive royal blessing. In Birnin Kebbi, Abdul Jalil Mohammed Ba, NTA News.
We move to Benue, where the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, has emerged winner following the governorship rerun primaries held across 11 local government areas of Benue State. Announcing the results, the APC returning officer, Senator Bashir Ladu, said Reverend Father Alia polled 410,682 votes to beat his runner-up, Sam Ode, who got 22,319 votes.
The rerun primaries conducted followed a Court of Appeal judgment which nullified the primaries in 11 out of the 23 local government areas of the state and ordered for a rerun in 11 local government areas, while results from the remaining 12 local government areas still stands. Declaring the results after the rerun exercise, returning officer of the All Progressives Congress Electoral Committee, Senator Bashir Ladu, said 12 governorship aspirants participated in the primaries, and Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia emerged victorious.
Scored a total of 410,682 votes. Having scored the highest number of votes, I declare Mr. Alia as the winner of this exercise.
On the average, I can say it is transparently clear the way it is conducted, and certainly a winner must emerge.
Some stakeholders of the party called on other aspirants and party supporters to close ranks to enable the party emerge victorious in the general elections. An extraordinary meeting was held where candidature of the standard bearer, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, was ratified by the Congress.
Those in support of him as the winner of the election say aye.
In Makudi, Moses Udi, NTA News.
The Kwara State Resident Electoral Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Atahiru Madami, says all is now set for the 2023 general elections in the state. This was at a stakeholders meeting in Ilorin, which Aisha Abubakar Yahaya reports was attended by representatives of political parties and other actors in the election process.
Having completed almost all the activities scheduled for the 2023 general elections in Kwara State, the Resident Electoral Commissioner met with stakeholders to strategize on how to achieve free, fair and credible elections. Registered political parties, all of whom were represented at the meeting, were reminded of the need to abide strictly by the provisions of the Electoral Act in order to avoid disqualification during election. Although millions of residents in Kwara State have collected their permanent voter cards, many cards are still at the local government areas for collection. The Resident Electoral Commissioner, Atahiru Madami, advised political parties' representatives to remind their people to go get their PVCs, as the Commission would return the uncollected cards to the Central Bank of Nigeria, which will automatically disenfranchise those affected.
We are very prepared, and we are getting prepared, and we want to be very prepared before the main election. In terms of materials, we have received both sensitive and non-sensitive materials, and training is ongoing.
The police and the other security agencies have been synergizing together. We have been meeting in meetings, and we are actually prepared for this election.
Some of the representatives of political parties are also optimistic that INEC will be on top of their game in the forthcoming elections. With the collection of permanent voter cards coming to an end on February 5, the Commission is calling on residents not to see politics as a do-or-die affair, but as a weapon to elect who they think is the best for them. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya, NTA News.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ali Baba, has ordered the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Force Criminal Investigations Department and the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the Force Intelligence Bureau to place officers and men of the department and the Bureau across the nation on high alert and to carry out the arrest and subsequent prosecution of all individuals engaged in the sales and abuse of the naira notes. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi says the IGP has also ordered all supervisory assistant inspectors general of police and commissioners of police in charge of police commands and formations to carry out full enforcement of the provisions of sections 20 and 21 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, which criminalizes, amongst other things, the hawking, selling or otherwise trading, spraying of, dancing or matching of naira notes, falsifying or counterfeiting of banknotes, refusal to accept the naira as a means of payments, tampering with the coin or note issued by the CBN, while reiterating the mandate of the Nigeria Police Force to enforce all laws and the regulations without any prejudice to the enabling acts of other security agencies. The IGP urges all and sundry to cooperate with the Nigeria Police Force as it brings the long arm of the law to bear upon all violators of the provisions of the CBN Act and other extant statutes in Nigeria, with a view to having a well-policed society in all ramifications within the country. Experts on Good Morning Nigeria are urging the Ministry of Health to lure manufacturers of cancer care equipments and medications to Nigeria, using the country's numerical strength as against always buying at an exorbitant amount. This is in addition to exploring private sector business and government interventions in mitigating the high cost of cancer treatments as a panacea for closing the gap in cancer treatments. Lydia Sampson reports.
With a list of cancer treatment costing 2 million naira per session, in addition to a dearth of specialists, cancer treatment in Nigeria, experts say, is a dilemma for patients.
A vial of a drug called Crude that is now becoming a standard of care for a type of breast cancer called triple negative costs 2 million naira, one vial, and you require 3 vials every 3 weeks. That's 6 million naira every 3 weeks.
Based on our study, we found that the cervical cancer has the least spending, in which patients spend almost minimum of 2 million. So some patient can even spend up to like 20, 30, 40 million, depending on the type of the cancer.
They reiterate government and all stakeholders must rise above lip service to the realization that there is their need as cancer cases rise.
If there are more centers that are truly functional, truly fully equipped and in need of people, it actually will serve as a magnet to bring in people who will then want to specialize.
We have to stem the tide by increasing efforts in screening and early detection and treatment and education on prevention.
So that gap that we have, or we used to have, and we still have, has closed a bit. We're not quite there yet. But I want to believe that with persistence, we will get there.
They call for the establishment of more cancer centers, education, as well as introduction of incentives to attract more doctors to specialize in oncology and other disciplines of cancer care. They again harp on prevention, or at least early presentation for healthy living. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now, the anti-corruption war in Nigeria is gradually yielding positive results with greater impact in global ranking as a civil society organization is leading campaigns to nip the crime in the bud. Dennis Temple reports.
Nigeria may not have reached its peak in the fight against corruption, but efforts are being sustained to rotate the way to stardom. Amidst global ranking system of worst corrupt cases across major cities in the world, Nigeria's position still impresses civil society organizations.
Score, then the position is like the rank. So this is actually very, very important in light of Nigeria's performance on the 2022 CPI.
Corruption Perception Index, which started way back in 1995, is a model for identifying loopholes in private and public finance systems.
Some of the other top government officials, they are not probably having the same language or the same zeal to fight corruption. That is why Nigerian civil society organizations have struggled to ensure that we have national strategy against the fight corruption.
As Nigeria sustains war against the disturbing situation, these stakeholders are optimistic that strong institutions are sure way to achieving excellence. In Abuja, Dennis Temple, NTA News.
Time for another break, after which we join Doris in Port Harcourt for more reports on Nationwide. Do stay tuned.
And welcome to Port Harcourt. A two-day training on coverage of the 2023 general elections for reporters in the South and Southeast zones has commenced. The training, organized by the management of the Nigerian Television Authority, is holding at NTA Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Jenny Bassi reports.
This two-day training for reporters on coverage of the 2023 general election is an ongoing effort of the Nigerian Television Authority to ensure its staff are equipped with requisite skills to achieve coverage of the election. Having visited some network centers, the facilitators are in Port Harcourt, training a combination of reporters from stations under Port Harcourt and Enugu network centers. The acting zonal director, NTA Port Harcourt Network Center, Evelyn Wosu, is optimistic that the training will strengthen the NTA in maintaining its frontline role in dissemination of credible information, especially with regards to 2023 general elections.
We all know that definitely there's nothing you know yesterday that may take you to the next level if you don't know what is happening today. The only way you can do it is to train and retrain and train.
The team of facilitators is led by a retired director news, Ayo Adewi.
We want to improve on what we did in 2019 to keep our reporters abreast of the new trends in technology, the new trends in reportage.
We want to do this in a creative and authoritative manner, in such a way that our viewers are served in the best possible way.
So essentially we want our reporters to be abreast of new trends in especially live reportage of elections.
For the participants, the training is no doubt an eye-opener.
We have roles to play as election reporters.
This training is going to be more revealing.
Creative news writing techniques and tools for achieving effective coverage of the elections formed part of the areas of concentration. In Port Harcourt, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
Still on elections, in a bid to advance Nigeria's democracy and to continue to place the realization of human rights on the political agenda and policies of government at all levels, a town hall meeting on human rights and the 2023 elections for governorship candidates has held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Evelyn Badu Eko reports.
The town hall meeting for gubernatorial candidates put together by the National Human Rights Commission is part of mobilization of voters for election to improve the overall electoral process in Nigeria. It is also targeted to get gubernatorial candidates to highlight their plans and views on issues that will promote and protect human rights of citizens in the 2023 elections. Representative of the Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission, Ifeoma Wakama, says it is an opportunity to state clearly plans of gubernatorial candidates in tackling challenges in some sectors of the economy.
To ensure that the candidates are thinking human rights. You know, it's not enough to just promise the people one amenity or the other and the rest of them, but let them adopt a human rights approach.
Some gubernatorial candidates and key stakeholders speak on effective ways to sustain human rights protection in governance.
And the person that is not favorably disposed to concepts of human rights, that's the person that is going to go on election rigging. That's the person that is going to undermine the system.
It has helped us to realize that the way to go
is to go back to the grassroots.
The event had interactions between partners and candidates on issues bordering on rule of law and human rights in Nigeria beyond 2023 elections. In Uyo, Evelyn Badu Ekpo, NTA News.
And that's our beat from here. Nationwide continues with Lami in Abuja.
Thank you, Doris. University of Abuja is not leaving anything to chance in preparing grounds for its students to be suitable for employment anywhere after graduation. That informed efforts of the institution's African Center for Career Enhancement and Skill Support to put together a capacity-building workshop on enhancement of the employability of the graduates. Speakers were unanimous on the desirability of the university to make its products good ambassadors by being employable, whether by organizations or themselves, after being groomed by the university.
The vision of the Vice Chancellor is to produce a new crop, a new class of young people who, when they leave the university, will be able to do things for Nigeria.
Is to increase employability of higher education graduates through a training that can reorientate the students who can think for themselves.
The university management says it will continue to provide the needed skills to its students that can make them stand out among peers in the continent. Now, with significant progress made in training of Nigerian youths, the time for complaints should be over, as it is time to ensure that Nigeria of our dream is realized. This dominated discussions at a Youth Leadership Impact Summit in Abuja with the theme Leadership, Creativity and Innovation. Olayinka Ojo brings us the details.
It is increasingly becoming evident that white-collar jobs cannot meet the demands of the teeming population in Nigeria and across the globe.
And globally, everybody is going to digital skills. Everything is going to internet, computer. And most of the Nigerian youths are not taking advantage of this era we are entering.
This is why acquisition of digital skills, which is the new oil, is the way to go. For this primary school teacher, Deborah Sunday, who is also a participant at this summit.
I didn't know that whatever that is going on in the government has a record, because all this I haven't known that it was something like that.
For establishments like the Nigerian Television Authority and the Bureau of Public Service Reform, which have incorporated digital skills in their operations, the summit feels the best way to appreciate both organizations is through this award.
This is the digital age, and NTA is keen into it. NTA has always been in the forefront of every reform.
That to see that we have an atmosphere, youth from graduating from the university will be looking at private sector establishing their businesses instead of struggling for government jobs.
With the future of jobs and the way things are done changing globally, developing personal competence and capacity in digital skills for managing and enhancing productivity is necessary. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Up next is Sports Update with Peter Oibo. And that's Nationwide for today. We thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.